I want you to envision a scene with me for a moment. Picture a young child, around 10, out wandering in nature, employing their fantastic imagination, just letting it run wild. That child, once grown to an adult, will harness that imagination and will one day create a whole new line of consumer products that will be remembered forever by young and old alike. As of today, his creations are literally sold and enjoyed the whole world round. I can't think of one person I've ever talked to in my entire life that hasn't come into some sort of contact with these wondrous creations. I would guess billions know at least one of them, and that is what this legend did. This legend in today's video is gonna be fun. This subject of what he made always brings a smile to my face and to my kids. So, if you are like me and you love hearing something new and saying, "Oh yeah, I know everything about this one." Wait, what was his name again? Well, I didn't know the name, but oh, wait, I didn't know they did that. Well, don't worry about it. You're in the same boat I was. So keep watching. You're never going to believe how this legend created a product that brought enjoyment to the world and is still going strong. Spoiler? Welcome to Legend Origins, everyone. In this episode, Historian, who wanted to rescue a princess in this video of all things, and myself will delve deep into story form into the life of this incredibly impactful historical legend. Many of the legends we talk about on this channel, you'll never have heard of before. Me personally, I knew all about the creation itself, but I totally knew nothing about who this legend was. I learned a lot on the research of the backstory. Comment below after watching if you knew who this legend was. I'd love to hear from you. But either way, if you did or didn't know, you'll definitely learn a few cool fun facts about this person and the massive impact they had on our planet and its population around the world. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Discovering new technologies, exploring new creations and inventions, or even committing outright horrible acts that we can never forget. Becoming a legend, and leaving a mark that will remain forever on our civilization, whether good or bad. Now, I'm going to introduce you to our legend of the day. But first, before I do so, if you could smash that like and subscribe button, and set notifications for this video by clicking the little bell below. It's free for you to do so and costs nothing, but it helps this channel greatly get more widely spread to inform others of this really cool information. Alright, let's look at an origin story, shall we? To get to know this legend, I'm going to take you back to 1962 in a small town called Sonobe near Kyoto, Japan. It was a beautiful summer morning in Sonobe, warm and sunny already. It was a smaller countryside town surrounded by rolling hills, dense forest, and narrow paths that led nowhere in particular, and yet everywhere for a child with an active imagination. The sound of insects can be heard in the silence, along with some birds twittering in the tree branches. A young boy named Shigeru is there wandering through the countryside. deciding to explore new areas. He stumbled upon something unusual he had never seen before. Under the cover of some trees, he saw a dark opening in the side of a hill, a cave. There was no sign, no warning, no reason to go inside the cave. It was just yawning darkness, staring at the youth. For most children, that would be scary enough to make them turn back. But Shigeru wasn't most children. He came back the next day with a lantern in hand. Step by cautious step, he entered the cave, exposing a little more of the wall and the floor. The darkness retreated from the lantern's glow. Step, step. The air was cool and deathly still. The light flickered against the stone walls, casting strange shadows. His heart was pounding, but not from fear, from excitement. What if something was in here? What if this cave led somewhere incredible? What if this was just the beginning? That feeling, that thrill of stepping into an unknown world, would stay with that child for the rest of his life. Even years later, this memory of Shigeru could be seen in every hidden passage, every secret door, every mysterious dungeon he ever created. In school, Shigeru wasn't particularly interested in traditional academics. He wasn't the top student in his class, and structured learning didn't really excite him that much. But give him a pencil, some clay, or a blank page, and something remarkable would happen. He would create. He was truly a creative soul. He drew constantly in his spare time. Strange creatures, whimsical characters, scenes that felt like they just belonged to worlds just beyond our reach. He also loved puppetry and storytelling, often crafting little narratives for friends and family with handmade figurines. There was something important about these early years. Shigeru wasn't copying images or stories. He wasn't trying to replicate what already existed. He was inventing, and he was observant. He paid attention to how things in the world felt, the tension of anticipation, the joy of discovery, the satisfaction of solving something just out of reach. Those emotional attributes would later become the backbone of his design philosophy. As Shigeru entered his teenage years, Japan was changing rapidly. Technology was advancing, cities were expanding, a new culture and entertainment was emerging. But he didn't immediately gravitate towards technology. In fact, he seemed a bit directionless. This probably vexed his parents, would be my guess. He attended a municipal college of industrial arts, focusing on industrial design. It wasn't a straightforward path to anything obvious, just a path. He was more interested in aesthetics than actual mechanics. He liked shape, color, motion, expression. He wanted to know what makes something appealing, what makes somebody care. While others were learning engineering principles, Shigeru was unknowingly studying something just as important: how to create joy and elicit emotional connections. After graduation from college, he struggled to find direction. He wasn't a programmer, he wasn't an engineer, and in a world increasingly defined by technical skill in Japan, he seemed like an outsider. Luckily, through a connection his father knew, they knew someone at a playing card company in Kyoto, and he got an introduction. The company's name in Kyoto was Nintendo. At the time, Nintendo wasn't the gaming giant that we know today. It was really in its infancy. They were experimenting, dabbling with toys, novelties, and earlier electronic entertainment. Nintendo didn't quite know what they were yet, which made it perfect for a place for someone like Shigeru, who didn't know his place either. He joined Nintendo in 1977 as an artist. Not a developer, not a designer in the modern sense, just an artist, tasked with making things look interesting. But he didn't see himself as just anything. He felt he saw more than that. In the early 1980s, Nintendo had run into a problem. They had launched an arcade game called Radar Scope that wasn't performing well at all in the United States. Lots of unsold machines sat collecting dust. The company needed something, anything, to salvage the hardware that they had invested so much in their fledgling years. Shigeru said something to the point of, maybe it's not the game, but the emotion the game creates. So, Nintendo, stuck with a bunch of unpopular games, were willing to try anything. They turned to an inexperienced young artist on their team and gave him a shot. Instead of simply redesigning visuals of the game, he approached the problem differently. He asked himself, what kind of experience would make people care about this game? He didn't start with technology, he started with a story. What could be so outlandish that people would stop and take notice, but would also connect with a person's own feelings? How about a common carpenter working at a job site, trying to rescue a pretty woman from a runaway giant ape? Okay, outlandish? You bet. Would an honest working guy try to save a woman in distress? Sure, I'd like to think so. That single idea became the video game Donkey Kong. Here's an interesting twist. The main character we now know as Mario wasn't even called Mario. He was originally called Jumpman, a basic placeholder name really in Donkey Kong. And he was a carpenter, not a plumber. He ran around with that little hammer hitting the barrels. The now iconic plumber's mustache that he supports, ironically, that wasn't a stylistic choice of the designers. It was actually a technical necessity. Facial details back then were really hard to render with such limited pixels in technology, so a mustache made the face cleaner looking. Little constraints like that actually became defining features. And when Donkey Kong launched in 1981, it was an instant hit. Not just success for Nintendo, a massive turning point. He didn't think of himself as a traditional game designer. In fact, he often resisted the title. He thought to himself, I want to be someone who's known for creating experiences, not creating video games. He thought of himself as someone who created experiences. One of his core beliefs was simple but powerful. Games should be intuitive. Players shouldn't need long instructions. They should feel what they have to do. This philosophy led to one of his most groundbreaking creations after Donkey Kong. In 1985, Shigeru helped create a game that would define an entire industry, Super Mario Bros. But what made it special wasn't just mechanics. It was how it taught players to play without words. The first level of Mario Bros. Is often cited as one of the best examples of game design in history. It gently introduces monsters, obstacles, and mechanics in a way that feel natural. Players learn by doing, no manuals required. And then there were the secrets, the hidden blocks, the warp zones, the alternate paths. The same childhood curiosity in that cave, the lantern, The question of what's beyond this new shadow, this was now embedded into digital form. Players weren't just playing, they were exploring, looking for things their friends hadn't found yet. Not long after Mario Brothers, he turned to a new idea, one inspired directly by his childhood adventures. A world of forests and caves and mystery, a young hero, a sense of wonder. That idea became The Legend of Zelda. Unlike many games of the time, it didn't force players down a single path. It actually encouraged exploration. It rewarded curiosity. It trusted the player. And that was rare in the gaming world. Despite his growing fame, he remained quite grounded. He didn't see himself as a celebrity or a genius. In interviews, he often spoke about how everyday inspirations like gardening and walking and observing nature, he credited that. A couple lesser known facts that might not surprise you about him: he once considered becoming a manga artist before entering the game industry, mostly because of his love of art. He also dislikes excessive violence in games and has consistently pushed for more playful, accessible experiences, which is good for the kids. Fun fact, the character of Mario was actually named after Mario Segal, the landlord associated with Nintendo of America. Shigeru was a dreamer. He had said that having hobbies outside of work, like playing music and gardening, helped him design better games. He's known for actually delaying game releases. If they don't meet his creative standards, he was famous for saying a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. As technology advanced, he continued to evolve. When 3D gaming emerged, many struggled to adapt, but he led the industry charge with Super Mario 64, redefining how players moved and interacted in a three-dimensional space. Later, with the Nintendo Wii, he helped shift the focus from graphics to personal interaction. Motion controls invited entirely new audiences into the gaming family. Older adults, people who had never picked up a controller before. His goal was never just to impress, it was to include. I find this very cool, this virtue he embedded into his products. He also created the Wii Fit, which included many sports and health-conscious people who may have never played a video game before in their life. It wasn't their thing, but fitness was. If there's a single thread that runs through his life, it's curiosity. The boy who walked into a cave didn't know he was shaping the future of entertainment. He just wanted to see what was inside. And that instinct to explore, to imagine, to create became the foundation of everything he built. Personally, I'm glad he didn't get eaten by a bear when he went into that cave. I loved Zelda when I was a kid. Millions of players across decades and continents have felt that same spark that he felt in that cave because of his games. The moment of stepping into a new world, the thrill of discovery, the quiet joy of figuring something out on your own. I don't know how many times I had to try combinations to get through the Lost Woods in the original Legend of Zelda so I could make it to the secret graveyard. It took ages. Spoiler, it's northwest-southwest. You see, that's Shigeru's true legacy. Not just characters or games, but a feeling you get by learning secrets and tricks. That was all new stuff in the 80s. Sure, So many games now have riddles, Easter eggs, tricks, combinations. But that pretty much all started with his concept of player exploring and experimenting. Even after decades in the industry, Shigeru has never fully stopped being that curious child. He still asks questions, still experiments, still wonders what might have happened if you just try something new. And somewhere out there, in every hidden level, every unexpected path, every moment of surprise in a game, you can still see it. You can still see what he put there. A flickering lantern in a chill, dark cave. A boy stepping forward, smiling, ready to discover what comes next out of the unknown. In my past videos, I've used legends that have already passed on into the next realm of existence, so to say. Shigeru is the first legend I've featured who's actually still alive. I'd like to say to him, if he ever sees my little video, I salute you, sir, and thank you for the joy you brought to hours and hours and hours of video game play to my young self. So, our legend for the day, Shigeru. He didn't just invent a video game, he invented a new way for humans to explore and discover without ever having to leave their homes. And hopefully, lit a little flame of curiosity in their real lives also. So tell me in the comments below, had you heard of Shigeru Miyamoto, the man that created Donkey Kong, Mario Brothers, Zelda, and so much more? You see, you never know where the next great idea will come from. Maybe it'll be you, the listener, inspired by Shigeru's fated steps into the dark cave that changed the way video games are played in our world forever. Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you've learned something new about one of the legends that changed our world. If you did enjoy this, please like and subscribe, as I'll be releasing more legends to come. I'd also like to hear any suggestions you might have of legends to do in the future. Someone who did extraordinary things but sits in relative obscurity for the most part. Or someone that did legendary things and is famous, but there's things in their past we don't know about. Remember, out there somewhere, hidden in forgotten textbooks or manuscripts, unwatched movie clips, or even in the memories of our seniors, are legends. And they changed your life forever, whether you knew it or not.